Okidoki. The problem with summertime rendering is that Disney Plus locked it away so nobody else could watch it. I'm just messing with you. The list is a bit longer than that. Summertime rendering is what happens when you grab ReZero and take the isekai out of it. Set on a rural Japanese island, Shinpei Ajiro has finally returned home for his adopted sister's funeral, Ushio Kofune. However, not all is as it seems, as doppelgangers by the name of Shadows start to replace the inhabitants of this little town one by one. Killed by the double of his other sister Mio, Shinpei discovers that he can loop back to the past by dying, giving him a weapon against the monsters that share their face. This is a video about my problems with summertime rendering, but I wanted to start off by saying I don't think this is a bad show. In fact, I would probably recommend people to watch this. Maybe pause this video, binge the entire show, and come back to see if you agree with me. Because this show does a great job at a few things, like building tension via the fact that the checkpoint that Shinpei can loop back to is actually slowly moving forward in time. Meaning that if there isn't enough time between the checkpoint and his last death, his demise becomes permanent. It creates some great moments where it really does feel like our heroes are at the edge of the cliff. One wrong move will mean no more retries. The way the shadows work as well is really cool. Along with some basic shapeshifting, shadows are able to copy and erase just about anything they touch. This usually involves copying and erasing bodies, but it's also used in interesting ways like copying guns that can recreate infinite bullets, echoing attacks back at enemies, and even erasing all the air in a room to create a vacuum akin to outer space. The action in this show is spectacular to watch, beautifully animated and always very engaging. However, as much praise as I can throw, there are definitely areas I feel that it lacks in. Most obvious would be the comedy and the fan service. Summertime rendering has the problem of trying to bait the viewers with ecchi scenes. The poster girl, Ushio, or at least the shadow of her, is basically stuck in a bathing suit for the entire series because it was the last thing that real Ushio was wearing before she died. The show explains it away that they can't change their clothes or cover up because it would hamper the abilities of a shadow, but you just know that it was written this way so people could have something to stare at with one hand down their pants. Minakata Hizuru as well, she's basically the heavy hitter of the show, the one that teaches us the basics of how shadows work, along with having the ability to see into the future and predict attacks if it can hit her. However, she's also a big titty office lady, and the amount of jokes surrounding her bedoinkas is just incessant. Both Shadow Ushio and Hizuru are cool characters on their own, basically the strongest fighters among the good guys, but they feel hampered down by the comedic fluff that is the horny baiting this show has to throw in at every turn. Even the comedy outside of the fanservice just feels very bog standard, really half-baked attempts at laughs that are just there to keep your attention as it progresses the story. I understand this is very much a me problem, but when I don't like a show's humor, I basically lose interest in everything else the show has to offer. I can still recognize when summertime rendering has its great moments, but it's injected in between such eye-rolling sequences that there are times where I wondered if I could just watch something else. I need to bring up Shide, which the rest of the video is going to be venturing into spoilers, so here's the warning for you guys that still want to watch the anime first. He's the bodyguard of the Shadow Mother Heine, keeping her safe so that she can produce more shadows. He's an absolute powerhouse, basically breaking the rules we've come to know about shadows. Their weakness being not the copied human body we see in front of us, but in the name itself. The true bodies of shadows are their literal shadows that simply project humans to interact with the world around them. If you apply enough damage to a shadow, the shadow will become a shadow of its former self. In other words, they die. You can also hold them in place if you pin them down with free objects like nails, or set them on fire as that spreads very quickly. Shide, however, doesn't have these weaknesses. Striking his shadow does nothing, whether trying to hold him in place or kill him. Fire slows him down but doesn't do much else, and he can also see further into the future than Hizuru can, thanks to the Mother Shadow. We discover the reason for this is that he's a human shadow hybrid, able to manipulate shadows as armor so that he can have all the strengths and none of the weaknesses. He's also very integral to the story, basically manipulating Heine to fuel his pursuit for immortality so he can see the end of the world. The problem with this is that making a character so powerful and important means that you basically know he's going to survive till the end. So any fights in between hold no stakes, as he's basically got plot armor until the climax. There's a similar issue with Ushio, who actually gets killed halfway through the show. We've come to discover that she can disconnect shadows from the Mother Heine and bring them over to her side. So, along with being the poster girl, you know Summertime Rendering is too pussy to actually kill off such an important fighting force. Which, guess what? She's written back in a few episodes later. While their fights are still great to watch, the show makes it too clear that Shide and Ushio are not going anywhere until the final episodes, so it's almost annoying watching the story attempt to trick you into thinking otherwise. The ending I have to mention as well, because I'm pretty mixed on whether I like it or not. I think a lot of writers are too scared to end their stories on a bittersweet note, which leads to creating these boring happy endings for the good guys. Because of time travel shenanigans that the show will explain and I won't, we basically reset everything so that the shadows never existed and everyone we lost on the way is brought back to life. While it's a well-deserved ending for the amount of strife these characters have had to go through, it basically creates a parallel universe that erases a lot of these strong bonds created over the course of the show. Sure, they all get to meet again, but they're fundamentally different people now. Funny enough, they've kind of become a shadow of the characters we've come to know, which maybe that's what the author was going for, unless I'm giving them too much credit. There's also this annoying moment where the romantic leads also get a memory wipe, so they forget about each other in the reset, but then they fully or partially remember during the emotional climax. Real Life in Your Name did this as well. It's a lazy way of trying to elicit emotions by reuniting the lovers at the last moment. It's a pet peeve of mine because it always feels very manipulative, like it's holding up a sign telling me to cry now. Just let them keep their memories from the get-go. I don't want to waste time when I know you're going to have them get back together again. Honestly, I think a lot of these problems are personal preference, and I imagine many others can overlook these issues and enjoy Summertime Rendering for what it is. If you haven't seen it, give it a go yourself, see if you like it or not. I've had enough fun where I was able to finish it, so I imagine a lot of others will feel the same way. Thanks for watching. If you want me to be eaten and replaced by a shadow, let me know in the comments below and tell me your thoughts while you're down there. Like and subscribe for more content, let me know if there's something you'd like me to cover. I like to talk about anything that interests me. That's all I want to say. I hope you all have a good day.